In this video, Christiane Amanpour and Jon Stewart, they basically questioned the status quo, how they have failed to stop this genocide in Gaza, especially by the Arab nations. Christiane Amanpour, she has something very, very interesting to share. Let's take a listen.
Took then. Then the position was, yeah, let's go into Iraq, let's go into Afghanistan. You know, it's easy in that retrospect, which is why it feels as though the world order has failed in this moment. And I'm surprised at, and maybe this isn't really the case and I'm misrepresenting this, but the passive nature of the Arab states.
Well, look, that is a big issue because they have now all rushed to make peace and certain accords with Israel. The UAE, Morocco, Saudi Arabia was apparently on the verge of doing it, still is working on it. And I actually have spoken to a lot of Arab leaders and I've said to them, look, for all these years since 1948, when the Palestinians left, the Nakba, when they were forced out, when they were chased out, when they voluntarily left, all that, what happened, and that's what Gaza is, right? The refugees from 1948. When are you going to stand up also and take ownership of this problem? Because the Arab states have had Palestinian refugees for, you know, pretty much 75 odd years,
well,
and have never given
Jordan,
them.
I mean, has probably a larger
never given them
Palestinian
citizenship. Ever.
Jordan has not.
No, none of them have.
Right.
Because
look, they're all terrified of Hamas and Hezbollah.
That's right.
The dirty little secret over there is the Islamists that they helped foster through madrasas and all those other actions, they're scared shitless of. They just are.
Yeah, and they would like to see Hamas get a bloody nose. There's no doubt about it. But people, the leaders think one thing.
But they don't want accountability for it.
People think another thing. And the people are essentially very upset. The people in that part of the world, and the young people all over this country, all over the world, are very, very upset.
So tell me why this is naive or wrong that the Arab states form a DMZ to immediately de-escalate this problem? How do they not step in and form some type of guarantee the security of Israel in that moment, guarantee the security of the Palestinians, and stop this carnage?
So they've been...
Well, the number one reason for that is obviously these Arab leaders, they are Muslim Zionist. You do not have to be a Jew or a Christian to be a Zionist supporter. You can be a Muslim and still be a Zionist. And we have seen that kind of behavior from the Arab states, Arab countries, through and through. And recently, I want to make mention of this, Spain refused to have an Israeli warship dock on their seashore. When Morocco, they allowed that Israeli warship to dock in Morocco. Now, obviously, you can clearly see that the Arab countries, they are more than eager to support this Israeli government, this Zionist state. And for that, they're willing to do anything. And on top of all of this, also, we have noticed that when Iran fired those missiles to Israel, remember that retaliatory firing of Iran, those missiles coming to Israel, at that time, Jordan, Egypt, all of these Muslim countries, so-called Muslim leaders, they have vetoed, they have said to Iran very clearly that your rocket, your missile, your drones going from our using our airspace will be intercepted and it will be destroyed. And this is exactly what they have done, King Abdullah. And so it is not that, well, the Muslim countries don't have the means or the military to help. It is just that they are one of them. They're just one of the Israelites, one of the Zionists, and they will protect the state of Israel, even if that means destroying their own economy, destroying their own country, sacrificing, compromising, anything for that reason. So if you are living under this delusion that somehow one day the Arab countries will wake up and save Gaza, you're absolutely mistaken. And also, I just want to add one more thing here, which is that they see Hamas as part of the Brotherhood movement. And so UAE, countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're terrified. The guy here, Jon Stewart, is talking about madrasa and, you know, radical Islam and all those things. Well, it all boils down to now who is supporting or who is linked with Muslim Brotherhood and who is not. Once Hamas wins this war, and they will, because Hamas has become an ideology, even in the countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE. This is why the leaders are terrified of their own people now. MBS, I mean, he spoke about this in one discussion that he said, if I go against the people of Palestine, if I normalize ties with Israel, then my own people will come after me. So what I'm trying to get you at is that the situation is very obvious for all of us, and that is that these Arab nations, they're not going to help the people of Gaza. And once Hamas wins and they start to flourish, this ideology starts to flourish the way it is. I mean, Hamas, this ideology is like a wildfire spreading so fast in every single mind of Muslim with a little bit of conscience. They have found a place. And not only in the Muslim mind, also for a lot of non-Muslims, people from the US, people from UK, non-Muslims I'm talking about, they're supporting Palestine. And when we talk about Hamas, we don't talk about the group, we talk about the ideology, the resistance force. And this is why I like to call this Palestinian resistance force instead of calling them Hamas, because the term has been interpreted as something evil and bad. So let's say Palestinian resistance force. But guys, look, whatever is happening right now, we will see the consequence for it. The people of Gaza, they paid with their lives and bloods. The blood is on our hands, every one of us, whoever did not talk about this, whoever kept silent. And one day, we will be all held accountable, not by God, not by Allah only. I mean, obviously, He's going to be the ultimate punisher, and He will hold us all accountable. But trust me, in our lifetime, we will see the consequence. We will meet those consequences. We will face consequences for our silence over this issue.
Certain plans floated. At the moment, the Israeli government wants none of it. It doesn't want the UN. It doesn't want the Arab countries. The only thing that the Prime Minister has talked about...
Does it not see its isolation in the world?
That is what its allies are trying to tell it, that you had the moral high ground and you are very close, if not having lost it. And this is a problem for Israel, because the truth is, as all these people on my show tell me, all the experts and the analysts and the leaders, that if this isn't solved politically, then unfortunately it will keep happening, this vicious cycle.
In the future of this, as you look at, when you talked about leadership, then who is the leader that emerges? It's clearly not Netanyahu.
Well, I think the Israeli situation is really interesting, because you have two contrasting facts.
Next leader of Israel will be from Gaza, will be from Palestine. That leader will rule over Israel and those so-called Muslim Arab countries.
The overwhelming majority of the country supports the war.
Sure.
They also want their first priority be their families to come back. They need a ceasefire and a deal to bring their families back. But the overwhelming majority of the Israelis do not support Benjamin Netanyahu. So what the Americans are saying now, and you saw Senator Schumer and others, that there has to be another election at some point. God forbid we would be, meddling in another country, but nonetheless, there has to be election at some point.
By the way, that's against the rules-based world order.
This thing, yeah. And then
that is funny.
Potentially, hopefully, open up another real possibility of a negotiated solution that's backed by the Arab states, as you mentioned, by the United States, by Europe,